So now I'm going to continue with the article I wrote. When I wrote it, I was extremely emotional, as you can imagine. It's left emotional scars on me that I've never gotten any retribution for. I've never been able to sue the police force in West Milford for, because the lawyers were scared to take Harry Shortway on. They said that he was too involved with organized crime and they didn't want to involve themselves in their families. And I would always suffer. That's where most of my emotional difficulties have arisen from, getting beaten up brutally by the West Milford Police, Sergeant Laughlin in particular, who was over 6 feet, who didn't need to bang my head on his cop car over 10 times, between 5 to 10 times, to put me in the cop car and put handcuffs on me, and then laugh at me as they fled. Let me just read what I wrote, and it's true, although I was emotional about it. Comparative analysis. Whoops, let me just make sure this is on. The article is entitled Comparative Analysis, whereby it's a comparative analysis comparing how Ratko Mladic and Radovan Karadzic and Goran Hadjic, the so-called most ruthless men in the world, treated me, a Jewish woman from West Milford, New Jersey, who later converted to Russian Orthodox Christianity, versus former West Milford detectives Harry J. Shortway Jr., Peter Van Gils, William Swarczynski, who was the Internal Affairs Officer at that time, Detective Calabrese, who was the juvenile detective, and another man named Borscht, who was a detective. All these detectives were involved in a Nazi fascist group called the National Alliance. The National Alliance, when I saw the flyers of the National Alliance, this Nazi group, posted all over the Hewitt, New Jersey, which is part of West Milford Township, the walls of the Hewitt, New Jersey post office, where I had my own post office box at the time. I knew this was illegal. I went to the West Milford police station and I talked to Detective Shortway, where they let me in, and I said, you know, this is going on. This is highly illegal. Nazi propaganda all over a post office wall in America. And Harry laughed and said, oh, don't worry, those are my friends. Leave those posters alone. Anyway, so I made a phone call from the number on the posters to the National Alliance, and I got their number with an answering machine down south in Mississippi somewhere. And it said whether you were a police officer, a judge, no matter what your position was in government, you were to use, their manifesto said, to use your power in the police and court to eradicate from the world all Jews, all Serbs, and all blacks. When I told Shortway about this, he said, those guys are my friends, unquote. Now let me read the article. Comparative analysis, whereby Mladic and Karadzic and Hadjic treated me with Milford detectives Shortway, Van Gils, Borscht, and Swarczynski. It is an extremely important legal case I'm submitting to the Hague Court, more like the Kangaroo Court, situated in The Hague, Netherlands, as an individual complainant here in the United States of America in Bloomingdale, New Jersey. My name is Miss Jill Louise Starr. I hope this case will always set an international precedent that even in America, American citizens and people such as myself are abused by their own public elected government officials and police. I am now fully convinced that after almost over a decade now of asking the American legal governmental authorities, local, state, and at federal levels to arrest and try former detective Harry Shortway of West Milford, New Jersey, and his corrupt law enforcement associates who beat me up brutally by banging my head against the police car over between 5 and 10 times. Sergeant Laughlin, a red-haired Irish man, and a rookie cop who just sat there and watched. Nothing has been done. I'm now asking the American people and the people that are hearing this to do something about it. Moreover, I suffered terrible physical and emotional torture from Harry J. Shortway and his nepotism police force towards me and my family during the year 1990, 1991, and forward. It is clear that Over the past decade, the United States of America is either unwilling or incapable of taking the bold, moral, appropriate measures to arrest Harry Shortway, who is now the elected deputy mayor of Vernon Township, New Jersey, and now currently wanting to run for mayor, and his associates, ensuring that he receives a fair trial in America, similarly to American diplomats such as Hillary Clinton, ironically accusing Serbia of not arresting Ratko Mladic or Radovan Karadzic at the time. Hypocritical and ironic, America, don't you agree? This makes a mockery of genuine human rights insofar as America, equally manifesting extremely gross violations of human rights against me, a Jewish lady, by those I accuse of attempting to corrupt ethnic genocide against me. Case in point, West Milford detective Harry J. Shortway and Peter Van Gils, who allegedly wanted to murder me owing to my deriving from a Jewish ethnic family background and at the time in West Milford, then being married to an African American black man. The police and the police force are heavily involved and brag all the time about being members of this Nazi group called the National Alliance I spoke of. Detective Harry Shortway has personal Nazi fascist affiliations with the National Alliance, a KKK-type group abiding and abiding in the Hewitt, New Jersey area. Hewitt is a town located in West Milford Township in northern New Jersey, part of West Milford Township. This crime of attempted genocide against me was committed against me only 30 minutes from the United Nations Security Council in Manhattan. I have written them many times with no response. I, Jill Starr, an American citizen, I previously wrote the United Nations about this 10 times in the early 1990s. I have never received any response. Altogether now, quote, let's remember the crime of genocide, especially Serge Brommertz, in case he forgets, in and of itself can be defined as either an attempt to kill one, as of in me, or thousands of members of any specific ethnic or religious group, unquote. More to come in this story. At the time I was upset, and I am willing to offer any financial reward for all and any information anyone has leading to the capture and arrest of Deputy Mayor Harry Shortway, who was former West Milford detective and his close associates who beat me up with Sergeant Laughlin, an over 6-foot, red-haired Irish cop who isn't very intelligent doing it, and his rookie cop who stood there just watching. Sergeant Laughlin is a tall, red-haired man, over 6 feet in height, slim build, and not very smart. Sergeant Laughlin was last seen by me back of the Ryan Machine Company off a Macapin Road in my driveway at the house I formerly rented with my ex-husband and my 2 children, grabbing my long hair and banging my head against his police car while his rookie cop watched between 5 and 10 times. He then shoved me into his police car and handcuffed me. Sergeant Laughlin continued, tightening the handcuffs around my wrist until they began to bleed. I was bruised, bloody, and had numerous bruises all over me when I went to go to the domestic violence unit to complain about this and put it on record with the domestic violence unit in Paterson, New Jersey, at the state courthouse, when June Ziter, Ziter, was the head of the domestic violence unit then. She was shocked to see how I looked, and that the police were trying to give Harry Shortway was trying to give my ex-husband a black man custody, and I was the one that had bruises everywhere from head to toe. It was shocking. I cried out in agony and tears in the back of the police car the day before I went to complain about the incident with June Zeder at the domestic violence unit for him to stop. My hands were bleeding, and all he did was sit there with the rookie cop in the front driving me to Harry Shortway, who was waiting for me at the West Milford police station, laughing at me while I was crying out in agony for them to stop, to please just make the handcuffs a little less tight so they would stop bleeding and stop agonizing my wrist, but they weren't. I said at the time, this financial reward is contingent upon any financial settlement, which I never did receive from being thrown out and discriminated against on account of my disability from the New School of Social Research, Fairleigh Dickinson, and Seton Hall, on which I all have proof because Arnold Stark, a professor, confided in all the professors that taught in the New School for Social Research in Manhattan and Seton Hall, Mr. Manley, who ran the diplomacy program, and Bill Clinton's former ambassador to Luxembourg, a gay man. They all admitted to Arnold Stark, my former professor, that they were doing this illegally and discriminating against me because the New School for Social Research had called them up and asked them not to let me in any programs, but they wanted to ruin my life after they dismissed me from the New School. They didn't stop till I got to Fairleigh Dickinson, and then 2 classes before I was to graduate there, I was dismissed also by a former alumni that was teaching at Fairleigh Dickinson that worked and was friends with New School professors. In fact, I felt many times safer holding hands with General Ratko Mladic on that boat restaurant in Belgrade than I do now sitting in my home in Bloomingdale. The police down the street, one block, came in here. They came in here while I can prove, I was having numerous gas leaks. While I wasn't looking, the one rookie cop, blonde hair, who I know who he is, and I can identify him, turned up my gas oven on high and told me I could not leave the house, or they'd have me arrested. I'll stop here, but I did feel much more safer and conservative than I do now, sitting here in a town where Deputy Mayor West Milford, Harry J. Shortly, wants to kill me, and Bloomingdale cops that are his friends are helping him. I really need help, and I'm asking someone to please help me before they end up doing what they originally intended to, kill me. Thank you. I'll continue further, but I would like to say neither Ratko Mladic nor Radovan Karadzic ever touched me in any malicious manner like the New Jersey detectives in West Milford did, banging my head against the police car between 5 and 10 times, laughing at me while they handcuffed me so tight my wrists were bleeding. In the early 1990s, I had paid large sums of money to try to retain an attorney in New Jersey to sue West Milford detectives Laughlin, Shortway, and then Gilst, but none of them would take the case. Finally, I went to the State Internal Affairs officer at Fort Dix, New Jersey Army Base, and I was told by the head of the Internal Affairs Investigation Department at Fort Dix that he ignored me. He said he didn't want to get involved and could not get involved at the state level. He would need the FBI because Harry Shortway's 10 organized criminal tentacles were too powerful for even him to take on at the state level of New Jersey. I wonder if Chris Christie is involved. Well, I think he is, and we all know it. With organized crime. Inversely, the alleged most ruthless men in this world, the so-called war criminals of the Balkans, never treated me with like extreme gentlemen, while New Jersey detectives and deputy mayors running around currently set me up to be killed and banged my head and brutally beat me like the Rodney King story years ago. I'll continue in my next video. I think this is enough for now to get this investigation started stat. Unless you would like it to happen to your daughters, because unless these people are arrested now, it could be your daughter who's next.